Hello, this is Kari Bradley. I'm the general manager of Hunger Mountain Co-op, and I'm going to be leading us through this council information session, which is designed for people thinking about running for the co-op council, or if you're just interested in learning more about what it means to be on the council or to have a council. This is the agenda that we're going to be running through. We're going to talk a little bit about the co-op overall, our mission, our ends, and the impact that we have. Then I'm going to talk about the role of the council in the co-op, and then get into characteristics of effective council members. We'll spend a little bit of time on the responsibilities that council members have, the commitment they need to make, and then some of the benefits of being on council. And then finish up with a little discussion of the application and the election process. The co-op's mission is here. We exist to create and sustain a vibrant community of healthy individuals, sustainable local food systems, and thriving cooperative commerce. This mission was established by the council back in 2008. Using our system of governance, the council has established ends policies. The mission is considered to be the global ends policy. And then we have these 4 additional statements that kind of flesh out the long-term desired outcomes of the cooperative and the purpose of the co-op and what we're intended to do. Every year, the staff writes a report in response to those ends policies and the impact that we're having in our community. I'm going to share a little bit of that data with you from last year's report. Obviously, local products is a very important value for the co-op, both as an outlet for customers to purchase those, and then also as a purchasing agent supporting local vendors. So in this slide, you can see the history of the past 10 years of purchases of, sales of local products, which we defined as those that are grown or value added within Vermont or 100 miles of Montpelier. So you can see that there was rapid growth between 2009 and about 2016, and currently we're running just a little below 10 million in sales of local products. We purchase from 490 some odd Vermont vendors, that's goods and services, and about 40% of our store sales come from local products, which is a relatively very high rate in the co-op world. Our mission and ends talk about health, and one of the ways that we can understand health is how much fresh food are we selling. So this breaks that down a little bit, gives you a sense of our fresh categories, which include produce, meat and fish, deli, cheese, and the refrigerated dairy section. All that totaled in 2018 about 11 million in sales, or just under half, about 45% of our sales come from fresh food, and that's been growing over time. This slide looks at our overall local economic impact using a model that was developed for co-ops specifically, food co-ops. And economic impact is considered to have 3 components. There's the direct impact, direct spending that we make, indirect impact, the money that's spent spent by staff or vendors and circulated through the community, so the multiplier effect. And then there's induced impact. And you can see that the impact has grown over the years, and the total amount is estimated to be just about 41 million. And it just speaks to the importance of the co-op in our local Central Vermont community. Environmental values are obviously very important for our co-op, and one of the ways that we can understand that is looking at our energy usage. We do use a fair amount of electricity as a grocery store, mostly refrigeration and lighting. And over the past 5 years or so, we've seen a decline in electricity usage. It's something that we're interested in continuing as we make improvements to the facility and become more efficient. Also, we have a small solar canopy that we allow customers to park under, and it generates about 2% of our annual electricity usage. Again, something that we're interested in improving and having more, if not all, of our electricity come from renewable sources. Co-op is involved in the Montpelier and Central Vermont community in a variety of ways. One of them is donations and sponsorships. You can see that we're spent about $42,000 last year on donations and sponsorships. We have also established many partnerships with nonprofits and agencies and other businesses in the community. And we also host a fair amount of workshops and educational activities in line with our mission. And then support for other cooperatives. This is something that's in the ENDS policies. And it's also the sixth principle of the cooperative principles. Talks about cooperation amongst co-ops. One of the ways that we support other co-ops is that we will invest in other cooperatives. And you can see in the graph here that we've increased the amount that we have invested over the past 10 years by a fair amount. These are investments. It's a way to use co-op assets to further our mission. But we do generally seek a return on these investments. Another way that we support co-ops is the sale of products from other cooperatives, and as you can see, just over 5% of our sales come from other cooperatives. These would include Deep Root Organic Cooperative, Organic Valley, Equal Exchange, Cabot Creamery. There's quite a number of different cooperatives that we purchase products from and sell to our customers. And then the last one I'll mention is that we provide a fair amount of technical advice to local co-ops, food co-ops, and we support cooperative associations both on a regional and national level. Okay, I'm now going to shift into talking about the council specifically. The council is the governing body of the co-op. Their purpose is really to ensure that the co-op delivers the desired results appropriately. So desired results can be summarized in those ENDS policies. Appropriately means that we're doing it in a way that matches the values of the community. So the different components of that. Representing the member owners is obviously very important. The member owners elect the council members democratically, and they elect them to represent their interests. And so that is really at the heart of the sort of the governing function of the council. And it's no easy thing to do, given that we have over 9,000 member owners. So part of that is articulating the values and the mission, as I've been discussing. That is squarely a role of the council. And then from there, the council establishes policy and monitors the accomplishment of those policies. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But that is how our council sort of puts its values into action. The council also hires and supervises one employee, that's the general manager. It then delegates the responsibilities for all of the operations to the general manager. But it does oversee the allocation of resources through a typical budgeting and planning process. That the council has policies that guide those processes, and it also has the sort of the final say in how that's executed. And then the council also has a role in engaging member owners, and that includes providing information about the co-op, about the community, and trends that are impacting us. Includes raising important issues and seeking feedback, input on big questions and strategic directions that the council, the co-op, may want to pursue. So again, very big job considering how many people are involved and the range of perspectives. Authority. So I'll mention that the council has the sort of the ultimate authority and is really in charge of the organization. And that authority has been granted to the council as a body, meaning that any individual council member has no particular authority, but as a body, they have sort of the ultimate authority in steering the cooperative. And then the authority originates from state statutes that govern the establishment of cooperatives. We have articles of incorporation, which are our written agreement with the state. Then a set of bylaws that are basically the members' agreements, which include how council members are elected and how the council operates broadly. And then the co-op members finally provide that authority by electing individual council members. So candidates for council often offer leadership skills and experience. It is a leadership role, so having background in leadership and having those skills is useful. It's not necessary, but it is helpful. It's also helpful to have a passion for the co-op and our mission. You know, serving on the council is hard work, and you know, generally people that are elected are the ones that can demonstrate that they really care about the co-op and wanted to do well. Candidates often offer an ability to articulate why they want to serve. What is it about serving on the council that motivates them? And then having an appropriate sense of priorities. And I think it's very important that when serving on the council, you're putting the interests of the co-op and the members above any personal interests specifically. Once on the council, effective council members are good listeners and effective communicators, willing to work with others. The council is a team, and it's important to basically practice good teamwork. So communication is really at the heart of that. Good council members are personable, even-tempered, vigilant in protecting members' best interests. There's a fair amount of learning that has to happen, reading of packets, understanding what the policies are and the rules and laws are, and then staying on top of that and really representing the members' interests. And then also, effective council members can comfortably represent the co-op to the community, formally at, say, a meeting, or informally with their friends and family, and so on. Also, effective council members learn about the co-op and how the council works. There's a learning curve there, and it usually takes a council member a matter of months to sort of get up to speed. We do provide an orientation locally, and then there is a regional day-long orientation that's available as well. A fair amount to learn, and we do provide resources and help council members learn about their new role. Beyond the initial orientation, there's the opportunity to attend seminars and learn more about cooperation and the food retail industry and the different ways that co-ops can and do benefit their communities. Gather and share information on an ongoing basis, whether that's about the co-op itself, about the community, about different trends that are going on. Council is really works well when it's taking in information and then sharing that back out with the rest of our community. Council members, as I mentioned before, are part of a team, and so supporting the council as a team is very important. And then council members tend to think big picture and long term. That's really the sort of the orientation of the council. We have 170 staff members to think about the day-to-day operations, but the council can really add value to the organization by providing some of the big picture and long-term thinking. Some of the responsibilities that council members have, I mentioned before, learning. That would include learning about the members' interests, what their needs are, what their desires are. Also understanding what the co-op's resources are to meet those needs and desires. And that would include also understanding what the current priorities in the business plan or otherwise, and then what our capacity is to move forward and deliver on what we've already committed to, and then potential new projects or programs. It's also important to learn about external trends, whether that's in the cooperative world, in the retail grocery industry, in the local community, in the state, and the region. All those are important in understanding what the opportunities are and potential threats. And then working to balance the interests of many stakeholders. We define our community as including employees, members, customers, local vendors, the broader Central Vermont community, and other co-ops. So there's quite a few different stakeholders there. They have overlapping interests, but they're somewhat different. And part of the challenge and the fun of being on the council is trying to strike the right balance between providing benefits to all those different stakeholders. Council also has a responsibility to help the co-op achieve its mission and ends by writing and monitoring policy. We do use a system of policy governance whereby basically everything that the council expects is written down into policy and then is monitored on an annual basis. The co-op does have a supervision role. It hires and supervises the general manager and evaluates their performance on an annual basis and on a monthly basis in the monitoring of policies as well. Council oversees the acquisition and preservation of co-op assets, obviously very important. So the financial condition and then the preservation of assets, protection of assets is a fundamental role, the fiduciary duty of the council. And then, as I've mentioned before, informing members about their co-op. Many members take a keen interest in the details of the co-op, and other members prefer to think about the co-op as their local grocery store. But regardless, there is important information to be shared with the member owners of the co-op, and the council has a role in that. It's worth pointing out that council members generally do not get directly involved in management and employee relations and the day-to-day operations. That's really generally delegated to the general manager and the leadership team. But I will say that the council members are not unaware or not, they certainly oversee the relations and the operations, but they tend to not get directly involved and just provide that oversight function. There are, related to this, legal responsibilities that any board member would have. They would include the duty of obedience, which means that council members follow state laws and also our own bylaws and policies. Any board member has a duty of loyalty. This is where conflict of interest might come in, and the important thing there is that if someone has a conflict of interest, if they declare that, and then they would recuse themselves if their interests are in conflict for any particular decision. It's a relatively small community and we have a variety of stakeholders, so conflicts are not unusual. Just important to declare them and and check and see if what needs to be done about a conflict if it exists. A couple other things under this duty of loyalty is to maintain confidentiality around personnel issues or wherever that might pertain, and then obviously to avoid favoritism. And then there's the duty of care or diligence. Basically, there's expectation that council members will act in good faith in the interests of the co-op. They will use prudence in their decision and judgment making. And there is the legal principle of the business judgment rule, which essentially says that would a reasonably well-informed person make the same decision? That's what's expected, that as a council member you inform yourself of the important information and then make a reasonable decision as would any other person. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the commitment that council members make. The council is made up of 9 members. So generally there are 3 3-year terms elected by member owners each year. So to keep those 9 seats staggered, we have 3 each year. Sometimes there are more than 3 seats available at any one time. In fact, in the upcoming elections, we have 5 open seats, and that's because there were some resignations that happened, and we appointed the council appointed some members for the balance of the year. So in this upcoming election, there will be 3 3-year terms available, but there will also be a couple partial shorter terms available as well. The council has monthly meetings. Their schedule has been the first Monday of the month at 5:30, and those meetings usually run 3 hours, and they're almost always in the co-op community room. It's expected that council members attend all meetings, but of course, if there is a conflict, council member may have to miss a meeting, but generally people try to make all of the meetings. And while that has been the schedule, the first Monday at 5:30 has been the schedule for many years. That's not to say that it couldn't change. That would be up to the council. Council members usually sit on 1 or 2 other committees over the course of the years of the council year. Sometimes those committees have very short duration, could be a month or 2. Sometimes they last all year long. Some committees meet regularly, like on a monthly or basis, or even more frequently in at least one case, or they may meet very sporadically. So it just sort of depends, and it's essentially voluntary which committees the council members want to sit on. We do have an annual meeting each year. This year it's November 7th. That's will basically be the last date of the council election. So it's the beginning and end of the council cycle. And it's important that council members attend that meeting. And there's also an annual council retreat in which the council will do some strategic planning and or team building, get to know you kind of exercises. And that's usually a day or half day near the beginning of the year in January or February, say. So when we've summarized it, totaled it up in the past, council members report they're spending an average of 5 to 10 hours per month. It's generally higher for the president and maybe the officers, but it some usually falls in that range of 5 to 10 hours. So here's a little bit about the benefits of serving on the co-op council. The primary benefit is the opportunity to serve our community. It is a volunteer position, but it's one that's important and it does have an impact on people's lives. We offer many personal and professional development opportunities, including trainings and workshops and networking opportunities. There's no end to the interesting topics and challenges that come up, and inherent with the wide range of values articulated in our mission and ends, and also the wide variety of stakeholders that we're trying to serve. There is the opportunity to be on a great team, support that team. And then there's also the 10% discount council members receive on co-op purchases, and that includes you and your domestic partner. So if you're interested in applying for the next council election, applications are due on September 3rd. The form is available online at the link that you see at the bottom of this slide. You can also pick up a printed copy at the co-op itself or get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to mail or email you one. Within that application is a request for a photo, a headshot. There is also a number of questions that we ask you to answer and provide statements that we can share with members so they get to know you during the election process. We also offer the opportunity to collect apples, which are different ways of learning about about the council and what it means to serve on the council. One of those apples is the council information session, and so listening to this presentation does count as one apple. Also, one of the apples is attending a council meeting, and the next one will be on Monday, August 26th at 5:30 in the co-op's community room. Please join us if you can, and there will be a meal at 5 o'clock if you'd like to share a meal with the council. Within the application is a conflict of interest disclosure that we ask you to fill out to identify if the conflict exists. And then per the bylaws, candidates need to have signatures from at least 9 other member owners, active member owners, in order to run. So the application, a printed guide about council service, and many other documents can be found at hungermountain.coop under the council meeting and resources page. So that concludes this presentation. If you have any questions, you're welcome to get in touch with me. I'm at 262-3219, or you can email me at karib, K-A-R-I-B, as in Bradley, at hungermountain.coop. On the website and posted at the co-op is individual council member contact information. You can reach out to any of the council members, or just get in touch with us at the co-op at 223-8000. We'd be happy to answer your questions. If we can't answer them, we will find someone who can. Or if you need any help in the application or the election process, just let us know. We're here to help. So thank you very much and have a great day.